All right, so the much-anticipated high-stakes meeting between the leaders of Japan, India, Australia and the United States is presently underway in Tokyo. The main focus of the meeting is, of course, countering China's growing regional and economic clout. The summit is, of course, taking place as Beijing is strengthening its military and is also carrying out military maneuvers around the disputed territories in the Indo-Pacific, including Taiwan. So these are the four leaders sitting across each other and discussing a whole host of different issues. We also earlier heard the opening remarks being made by the four different leaders. Remember, Quad is not a military alliance. It is a forum. It is a gathering of four democracies who have come together with a common consensus on a whole host of different issues. The key among them is countering China. The issue of vaccines is also pivotal. Climate change is another aspect. Trade and investments is also one of those aspects in which these four nations have, of course, come together. And we also yesterday saw the American President Joe Biden there announce kickstarting the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. This will, of course, go a long way in bringing the nations in the region together in developing their economies. And we heard the Indian Prime Minister there address the Quad gathering just a little while back. And this, remember, is a crucial grouping of four important democracies. And these four democracies have, of course, come together with a stated objective of countering China's belligerence in the region and also to ensure an open and a free Indo-Pacific.
On my election as Australia's 31st.
And also Nicole Berner-Schmitz is still live with us. She's joining us from Washington, D.C. Nicole, thank you very much indeed for staying back. Now, this is a crucial meeting of the four leaders that is presently underway in Tokyo. I want you to weigh in on the importance of this Quad summit that is presently underway in the context of the war that's also happening in Ukraine.
Yeah, this is certainly an important meeting for these four democracies. This is the fourth time that they've now convened, third time in a short time frame, really. And you heard President Biden's opening remarks really focus on the war in Ukraine. This is obviously incredibly important to the administration and top of mind for the president. And it's an important for the world and to continue to hold up democracy across the globe. But it is a shot at China without saying China per se, because China is the one country, right? It's still part of what the Quad's goals are, because China is the one country that is embracing Russia with open arms, really. And so it is a direct critique of what China is doing by his sharp words regarding what the United States will continue to do to back Ukraine and how democracies across the globe will continue to back Ukraine in this conflict where Russia decided to invade another country without provocation.
Absolutely, indeed. That is a very, important aspect in terms of how diplomacy will be seen. Now, Ukraine was not a member of the NATO military alliance. It wanted to join the NATO military alliance, but the war in Ukraine has also indicated to a certain extent the limitations of what America can actually do when a conflict breaks out. But I want you to tell us, have this comment by President Biden that he made on Monday, where he said that the United States is willing to defend Taiwan militarily in case it is attacked by China. How is this being viewed within the United States of America?
Well, certainly the president did reiterate that he and the administration support the one China. He was very clear about that, but that if they was invaded unprovoked, that is what the United States would do, that they would stand up for Taiwan. And he is making the case that this is not different than what he has stated about this before. It has some coverage in the U.S. Obviously, anytime the president makes a statement like that, it's newsworthy and it's getting attention. But there are a lot of other things going on here in the United States, too, that are really dominating the conversation about politics. We've got big primaries coming up in some states tomorrow. So there are a lot of things that Americans and the voters are watching on the news here that it is not played on a 24/7 loop or been the most dominant news story even of the day.
Right, but does it in any way signify a change in the American policy? The American president, of course, was quick in pointing out that the American policy on one China does not change. But to state that America will intervene militarily if Taiwan were to come under attack from China, this clearly would indicate that possibly this would put the United States in a direct conflict with China.
Well, look, the administration was very clear that they support the one China. And what President Biden said was that he has stated this before about if there was a conflict that happened in Taiwan. So this is speculation on if China does it. And I think it was a warning shot to China to be clear about how seriously the United States would take that kind of move. And I think doing it the day before then these four major democracies are meeting makes it all the stronger of a point.
Absolutely, indeed. And also, during this visit by the American president, he also inaugurated the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. How do you see that playing out? Because the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework is not defined by any treaties, and therefore this is just a loose gathering of nations who are together to try and build their economic ties with each other.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out and really get the details of what's part of this framework. Obviously, the TPP was in place and under Donald Trump went backwards. Did you remember when the TPP was passed, Joe Biden was vice president and it was an Obama administration, but the bulk of Democrats in Congress voted against it. It really passed with a few Democrats, a Democratic White House, and Republicans voting for it. And a lot of unions in the United States are really not supportive of the TPP. So going forward on a new framework with trade, when Joe Biden declares himself to be the most labor union friendly president that we've had, and certainly is in a very long time, it will be very interesting to see what sort of parameters are in there, because there's a lot of concerns about food safety. That's only escalated now by the infant formula shortage here happening in the United States, and how should we be overseeing food safety? There's a lot of manufacturing. What should be being built here, and what are we trading? So it'll be it'll be a big deal about what are the very fine points and how close is this, and what are the differences from the TPP in the past versus this framework.
Absolutely, indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Nicole Schmitz, for joining us from Washington, D.C. and getting us all those insights there. So some very big, important developments that have taken place in Tokyo. It remains to be seen as to how all of this will, of course, pan out in the coming weeks and months. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.